Hello and welcome to the Change Gang podcast with me, your host, Laura Ordile. I'm here to help you hold on to your sanity and your soul as you move through big change. I'm here to guide you from frustration to flow in your life, bridging the practical and the woo, just for you. Let's go. All right, welcome to the week, Change Gang. I have a super special guest here this morning, and we're going to chat all about mindset and life and how it all applies. So Kelly Cookson is here with me this morning, and I want you all to say big hello to her. Hi, Kelly. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing so good. Thank you. I'm so excited for this session, and we have so much to dive into. So yeah, keen to get started and share all I know about these topics with your listeners.
Yes, that's going to be super fun. I'm excited. Your company is Chart Marketing, and you actually have a bit of a background from what I could tell anyway. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but you spent some time in corporate. You did all the things. And one of the things I think that goes, when you say corporate in an entrepreneurial world, everyone goes, eek. You know, they get,
yeah,
but
working for the man.
But it serves a good thing, and it allows us to really be a part of what we're doing out in the world, getting information. And for some people, corporate is a really good experience. They have a good experience with it, whether they choose to leave it or not. That's fine. We all grow, we all change. And I think that's important. But how did it work for you? What was corporate like for you? And why did you come about the change that you came about moving into your thing?
Well, it was a good experience for me. So my background is I'm a marketer. So I've got 14, nearly 15 years experience now working in marketing. So I did a business degree with marketing back in, 2008. I must have graduated from that. And straight away, I was like, I want to work in marketing. Like, this is going to be my career. So I was lucky enough, like the first week actually of finishing my degree, I got a job straight away as a marketing assistant for a law firm. And I was like, this is it. I'm suited and booted. I've got my law firm outfit on. I'm wearing my heels. I'm in the office. I'm doing all of this marketing stuff. And actually I was there for a good 3.5 years, learned a lot. Like, I found that putting the stuff that I'd learned at university into practice, well, it's a whole different world from reading textbooks and doing assignments to actually doing it on the job. So, to come back to your point of what you can take away from corporate, a lot. So I did like 3.5 years there. And then I actually moved to do some product-based marketing for an Apple reseller. So we sold a lot of Apple Macs and iPads and all that kind of stuff. Ended up working at the local university in their entrepreneurship part of their business school, doing marketing there. And then I got the entrepreneurial bug, and I actually moved to a software well, I say startup. They've probably been going for about 10 years, but they were a very agile, young, exciting company. And I would say those kind of last 4 years working there, I really cut my teeth in terms of learning about agile marketing and all of the stuff that I teach my clients now around strategy and email marketing and all of that kind of stuff. And I actually ended up leaving there because in 2017, I had my daughter and I went back to work part-time when she was 9 months old. I had 9 months off for maternity leave, went back a couple of days a week for a few months, and then I stopped at 3 days a week, which was a great experience. Like, many employers are not that flexible. But, for me, my boss was super happy to have me train somebody up in my team so we could job share. And so 3 days a week for 2 years. And then ultimately I decided that, look, if I want to be as flexible as a parent as I possibly can be, even though my employer had made amazing kind of considerations for me and it allowed me to come back part-time, I knew I wanted more, because here in the UK, we get a lot of school holidays and you don't get that much annual leave from your corporate job, right? So I was looking at it and it didn't add up. So I thought, right, I'm going to actually go and do my own thing. So I had a secret side hustle for about 9 months doing marketing consultancy as like a freelance marketer for hire secretly. And then I came out and said to my boss, look, I want to go and do this full time. So I actually handed in my notice and then started doing Cheer Up Marketing full time from January 2020. So that's my experience. But it was a good experience in corporate and I learned a lot. But there's nothing quite so exciting / nerve-wracking as running your own business and being like responsible for everything.
Right. And you talk about that a little bit. I've heard you talk about how,
Mm.
of course, that date is significant because it was right as the pandemic hit. So that's
Yes.
pretty interesting for your mindset for, oh
Hmm.
my gosh, I took this big leap.
Yeah.
Now, did you move into some of the fear and the panic or do you think you
Mm.
just went, I'm okay. I'm just going to do this. How did you feel when
Okay.
that?
I'm so glad you asked this question, right? Because I have learned so much about my mindset over the last 3 and a bit years of running this business. It turns out I am a huge risk taker and I'm very much a glass half full kind of person. It's what you term in positive psychology terms as having a strong growth mindset. So turns out I'm great at looking at challenges and learning from them or seeing them as opportunities, as opposed to having a fixed mindset and thinking, oh my goodness, I can't do anything with this. The world's out to get me. There's a pandemic. It's over. I actually looked at that pandemic as an opportunity to sell more because I work in marketing. And I knew that my clients and other people would need to market their way through that pandemic to come out of the other side. So I'm proud to say I didn't lose any of my clients. I won more business through that time and my business went from strength to strength. But not for one moment did I waver and think, this is the end. How unfair, 3 months in and we're in lockdown. So it's quite interesting contrast to my husband, who is also running his own business, but he's an electrician, electrical engineer. So, they couldn't really go out and do any work through lockdown. Much more stressful situation. I'm like, I'm busy. It's great. I've got all these clients. We're just doing it online. Just do it on Zoom. It's perfect.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work for the electrical field. I understand
Mm.
that's a little harder. So were you already at that point, were you into the positive psychology work, or did you just kind of get through that naturally and then
Mm.
through that eventually found, when did positive psychology come into play for you?
Yeah, so I love this question. No, I knew nothing about positive psychology. And I think it turns out that I'm naturally kind of happy to take risks and growth mindset oriented. In my corporate role, the term like personal development was just my own experience of it was around learning a new piece of software or having maybe some leadership training or management training. When I left that environment and started running my own business, it was really 6 months in that I had this big moment of, there's something going on that's blocking me in terms of mindset. So, I had a great start to the business, but then I actually grew a business that I didn't love. I had too many clients. I was really busy and I wasn't charging enough. That whole journey that most people go on when they start their own business. And it was only then that I met a coach, actually gave her some website advice and she coached me. And it was around intuitive coaching. So tapping into what I actually wanted my life and business to look like, which I hadn't really considered past the fact that I want to walk my daughter to and from school and take holidays off and make, match my corporate salary. But from that point on, I then became aware of this huge, mindset piece that was going to be like really the make or break in terms of me scaling this business past the comfortable point, which I had reached. So I started to read around like mindset or internal work and tapping into my intuition and creating a business that I loved and finding my way with that. And it wasn't until the middle of last year, 2022, or the beginning of 2022, that I discovered positive psychology. And it was like coming home. I was like, oh my God, this is it. Like, this is the thing that I know I need to do more work around, and my clients, they need it because I'm telling them to get visible with their marketing and go and do all this stuff. And they're like, well, I can't do it. There's something holding me back. So that was my first introduction. And then I ended up doing a positive psychology coaching certification in the summer of 2022, because I just knew that I had to really learn how to deliver this and implement it for myself and have that toolkit. So yeah. Does that answer your question?
I love the term you use. Felt like coming home. I think when you find that just clicks, it's like, oh,
this is the thing. This is the thing I need. And everybody needs this. Yeah. How did I not know before then? It was like,
everybody needs this. Yeah, that's exactly how it feels. So you said for a moment that you hit that block, and I think that everyone has that, and sometimes it sticks for a long time. You feel stuck.
Yeah.
But we all go through, at least I talk about the fact that we all go through some similar things when we hit those blocks, when we start moving through change. We have that catalyst, that thing that happened, and then we tend to have the moments of fear, sometimes irrational fear, and then we kind of come into an acceptance. Yes, there's change happening, something's going to happen, and then you move into that motivation of getting yourself forward and going into it. What was that catalyst moment for you when you realized, I don't love this, I need to change? What was that like for you?
So I think it was having somebody else help me tap into what it was that I really wanted. Because, when you start a business, so I had my safe corporate job and I had a salary. And although it was a small salary because I was working part-time, it was still a guaranteed salary, right? And I knew that I just wanted to match that and that would be fine, right? But then as soon as I started to realize how easy it could be to make money, I started to focus on that and go, oh my God, well, imagine if I could make double what I used to make in my corporate job, and like what an amazing achievement that would be. Kind of feeding the ego a little bit. And, I wanted to, as a female entrepreneur coming from a very male focused world in software, the previous job that I was in, I was like, wouldn't it be amazing if I could absolutely smash it and make all this money, like just me, like this woman on her own running her business and, out of that boardroom and doing it for myself. So I think I did lose sight a little bit of the freedom and the flexibility aspect. And as I mentioned earlier, like undercharging. So I had a lot of clients and I was making good money, but at the expense of my downtime. So, I'd be getting up at 6 a.m. before my daughter to do an hour of work and then do the school run, pick her up at 3, do all the bedtime stuff, back online at 8 o'clock at night to do client work. And I kind of felt happy to do that because I was hustling and like making money. And it actually came down to when I met this coach who was like helping me actually to tap into what it was that I really wanted, that I looked at what I'd created. And although I felt proud, I thought, this isn't the vibe. This is what I want to be running my business like. So actually 6 months in, I split up with 90% of my clients. I let them go and said, I'm not doing this kind of work anymore. Here's someone else that can do that for you. And I niched down into just doing email marketing. Actually, I focused on that. And I launched a group program so I could service more clients at once and teach them how to do their email marketing rather than me having to do it for them. But again, there's that risk of, I said goodbye to everyone and had a really low income month the next month. But after that, things took off and I was like, this is the vibe. Like I'm running my business. I'm doing work that's easy and I'm in flow and it feels great and everyone's happy. And yeah, it kind of took off from there.
Yay. That sounds so fun. Mm-hmm. Now, with your clients and the work that you do with them, obviously marketing takes on a big part of mindset. And especially when you're working with entrepreneurs, because they are marketing themselves.
Yes.
And that's one of the hardest things I think people struggle with is they can talk about someone else, they can share about this, they can do that. But when it comes to themselves, all of a sudden, here comes the blocks, here comes the imposter syndrome, here comes everything. Do you see that process a lot with the people that you work with? And how do you help them through that? What are some of the things that you do to help them through that?
Yeah. So I see it with every single client, right? And it's funny and I laugh because most people come to me for the marketing side of things. So I just need a strategy. They'll say to me, I just need a strategy, Kelly. Can you help me out? Like, what's my content plan? How am I going to sell? Like, how am I going to reach my clients and, hit this money goal that they've set? I'm like, great. Okay. I can give you the strategy. And, I found that I would give them the strategy and that involved becoming very visible in their business and putting themselves forward as the expert in the thing that they do and attaching a price to that and a monetary value and selling. And then, I could give people the strategy. And sure, some would run with it and execute it to a great standard. But at some point, whether it was in the beginning or halfway through or towards the end where they're reaching their next level, there would be they'd stop, they'd reach this stalling point. And that was the mindset piece. And they'd say to me things like, I feel stuck. I don't know why I haven't done that thing, Kelly. Like you told me to do it and something's blocking me, or I feel like something's missing. And that's when I was thinking, right, this is the journey that I've been on. It's the mindset piece. And to be honest, I felt ill-equipped to be able to coach them through that because it's a very different job coaching somebody on their mindset to delivering a marketing strategy. Hence going to get my positive psychology coaching certification. So now when I give my clients a strategy and they have a block or a wobble, or they feel like imposter syndrome is huge, especially for women, I think. Now I have this toolkit. I can say, right, this is what's coming up for you. Here is a scientifically proven like intervention for you to work through this block and to come out of the other side and then carry on the momentum with running your business. Otherwise, for some people, that is the end of the line. They cannot get past that imposter syndrome or that feeling that they're not good enough, or that they will, they don't really believe that they can hit their goals. So it's actually a huge part of the work that I do now.
Now's a good time for you to tell me positive psychology is. How does it work? How does it, tell me about it. This is the second time after I heard about you, I was talking to somebody and they said, oh yes, I do that. But I said, well, don't tell me that much. I want to ask. I want to find out.
I'm glad you saved it for me.
I saved it for you. She told me a couple things, but I said, all right, let's not talk. I want to dig into it a little bit with Kelly and find out what it is. Everyone out there, there's got to be people just like me who hadn't really heard of it.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a thing.
I love the name because it's all about what I do and what I want to live in and all of that. Do tell.
Okay. So I think we're all familiar with psychology. And actually, I did an A-level in psychology before heading off to university. So traditional psychology looks at what's wrong with the human mind. So, conditions like schizophrenia or personality disorders, the depression, the negative things. And it's about science and using therapies and drugs to overcome those negative conditions. Positive psychology is actually the other side of it. So again, it is still a psychological science. There are researchers across the world that work in the field of positive psychology, and there is a lot of scientific evidence to back the work up. It's around boosting positive emotions to live a meaningful and full, happy life. So if you're interested in finding out more, you should Google Dr. Martin Seligman is one of the founders of positive psychology. I have his book on my desk in front of me, Authentic Happiness, using the new positive psychology to realize your potential for lasting fulfillment. So when I read things like that, I'm like, well, who doesn't want a piece of that? I mean, that sounds incredible, right? So there is a lot of talk in PosPsych around mindset, growth mindset, happiness, fulfillment, getting into flow experiences with your work and your life, like feeling that engagement with what you're doing and having this sense of a higher meaning and purpose, a guiding light, a sense of connectiveness with what you're doing in life and work and your community around you. So it's a really holistic piece of kind of psychological work that can really transform your life and help you feel that connection and fulfillment and happiness. So it's super powerful. So it's more about looking at how we can boost positive emotions and that feeling of meaning and purpose to feel fulfilled, which is then linked to our sense of overall happiness.
Well, yeah. I mean, isn't that the ultimate goal for everyone? I think happiness is
people think it's money. And do you know what? It's so funny to talk about that as well, because money in some ways can bring happiness, because obviously if you're poor or you're below the poverty line, there are challenges that money would alleviate and make you feel happier. But there comes to a point where you have money and it doesn't bring the happiness that you are perhaps craving or thinking about, like taking that to the next level. So I think there definitely seems to be more noise about it in the online space, about feeling happy and what is success, and not always defining that in terms of wealth. Which has definitely been the guiding light in my business. I know I want to make money as an entrepreneur, but actually my meaning and purpose is more connected to being that present parent for my daughter and building this business that means I can be present with her and walk her to and from school and have the school holidays off rather than chasing that money all of the time. So it's really helped me to have that as a guiding light.
And I think that's awesome. And I also think just for people who want to say, yes, but I want money. Absolutely. Good. It's okay to want what you want. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to have be successful in the monetary side of things either. I think it's bringing in the balance and finding what it is that is going to bring that happiness to you. And it might be enough money to have the freedom to do the things that you want to do. It might be, some people, they struggle health-wise, and for them, the success is to get themselves healthy and then build on those things. But I think some people get so stuck in the fact that it's
you shouldn't want this, or you're being greedy, or you're being silly, or you're being what you're being for you. And I think that's the important part. One of the things I love is that you do well financially, and you manage that time-wise. One of the things that you talk about is that you work 20 hours or less, I assume, and you are right now in the six figures. You're making good money. And that shifted from before, from when you had all that time that was being invested, the extra time, all of that. And you were able to go in and shift that.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
What you wanted to do, but still hold on to the money that was coming in. And I think
it's funny. Sorry, I was going to say, like, I have a bit of a mantra. It's like, and talking about health, like health is the real wealth. But I found that by getting clear on what it is that I want and protecting that time and energy. So I love going to the gym and going in the sauna. And I have a little mantra, which is like, the more I go to the gym, the more money I make, because generally, like, feeling better and having the energy to show up, like, the hustle culture is not where it's at in terms of growing a business for me. I want to be feeling great and enjoying what I do. And then the money has followed that, in all honesty.
Yes, I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. You know, the Denise Duffield Thomas talks, her book, Chillpreneur, obviously is out there, and she talks about it doesn't have to be the hustle. It doesn't have to be, obviously you have to put energy into what you're doing.
Yes,
you have to put the motion in. You have to do the things, especially when you're first getting started. It's going to be a bit more. And,
yes, I agree. Yeah.
You have to know that. So positive psychology, I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask just real quick, because some of the things you said, you talk about it being a science and everything, but it also sounds like it is very energetic, and it does have what some would call a little bit of a woo side to it too. And I'm good. That's my thing. I do woo and the practical. I think they combine together really well. But do you have anyone that challenges you on that? It's like, oh no, that's too woo, or that's too anything, or do they?
I'm so glad you asked. Yeah, I think there's what it is not is manifesting. So I think, when we talk about manifestation, so Denise Duffield Thomas, great example of this. And I love her, big fan, read all of her books and love her podcast as well. And, I do like a bit of like asking the universe for stuff that I want and seeing if it delivers. Like, I'm here for it, but that's not what positive psychology is. When we talk about like positive emotions, there are it's a positivity ratio scale that you can take online and see where you naturally fall in terms of your positivity. And something really interesting in terms of the science around that blew my mind actually when I first started getting into pos psych, was around where we are naturally set in terms of us, each individuals as human beings. Our positivity is 50% of it is actually set by your genetic makeup. So that's why some people seem more positive about life and business and whatever else than others. Only 10% of how positive you feel at any one time is actually influenced by your external situation or your circumstances, like where you're living and what's going on around you, which I think is a tiny percentage, 10%. Like, they've done studies on people living in abject poverty in places like India. And actually that living situation only influences their happiness by 10%. So you've got 50% is your genetic makeup, 10% is your external circumstances or influences or your living environment, which leaves a huge 40% of your positivity or positive emotions, how you feel, under your control. So the pos psych side of things and the positive emotions pillar of positive psychology is all about what interventions can you take, what positivity boosters can you apply to help boost your positivity, to help balance out the negativity. It's not always about feeling like 100% joyful or ecstatic or happy every single minute of every single day. Like, that is impossible. But for me, as an entrepreneur and, a parent and just a person, having a toolkit of things, or this awareness of, right, I'm not feeling so great right now. What can I tap into that's going to bring up my positivity to help balance out whatever negative emotions I'm feeling? Like, that has been huge for me in terms of riding this entrepreneurial roller coaster. Like all the challenges that come with running your own business and everything that's going on in life, to kind of pick myself up. So I think, to circle back to how it's different to the woo-woo side, although it can sound a bit woo to be positive, like, is it a bit hippie, or like, what's positive emotions? Be positive. But actually it's about having a toolkit, a scientifically proven toolkit to boost yourself up when life does get tough or you're throwing some curveballs. So that's what I love about it. It's like I can still be into my manifesting and asking the universe to rain money down on me or whatever I want, but I've also got a practical, scientifically proven way to feel better, to show up consistently in my business and keep chipping away at those goals that I've set.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a great way to look at it too. One thing you said there, that 10% of our circumstances is what decides some of our happiness, or a lot. What I find with people, interestingly enough, is that they tend to live in that 10% a lot. They live in outside circumstances and looking at, and I think that's just a matter of focus of where we're putting our focus, which is what you're talking about, is finding the places where you can move into the things to bring in with our thoughts and with the way that we sometimes grow up, and like I said, I'm sure some of it is genetic, some of it's from the things that we hear growing up about you're not this, or you'll never be this, or we don't have enough of that, or all these things that get anchored into our mind. And then when we think, oh my gosh, the car needs this, and this just broke in the house, and that just happened, and how come all this is happening to me, and all that.
Yes.
When you can come to the place that all of that can happen, still knowing I'm okay. All of that is happening, and I'm still okay. I can be okay in here regardless of the outside circumstances. I think that's the place where you're really connecting with that flow that you talk about, with finding that space that allows you to move into that positive psychology. Do you see that in the people that you work with?
Yes. And I think what you've just shared there is a great example of growth mindset versus fixed, right? Because when you're talking about, all of this stuff is happening, but I'm still okay, or I can move past it, or this has happened, so I can change something next time and make sure it doesn't happen again, or I'll handle it differently next time. That's an example of growth mindset versus the people living in the 10%, as you said, where why does this always happen to me? Or the roof's leaking, the car needs fixing, all of this stuff, or me, why does it always rain on me? That's more of the fixed mindset that people go into, where they become the victim of their circumstances and cannot see a way out of that or learn from those challenges to move forward. So, I think I'm probably naturally quite growth mindset oriented, although definitely I recognize now when my fixed mindset's coming into play. And again, I've got this positive psychology toolkit that I can journal my way through that and figure out how to move through it, because otherwise that can become a block. But I think it's just interesting that you share that as an example. And that's another pos-psych thing, is around growth mindset versus fixed. And honestly, to be successful in business, you've got to channel that growth mindset and learn from negative experiences or failures. Like, I launched a new product and nobody bought it. Great. What does that tell me about next time I launch a product? So what can you learn from that? And you mentioned about like what you've learned growing up as well in children. And it's really interesting because my daughter will be coming up to her 6th birthday in April. And I'm very aware of the things I say to her now, thanks to learning all of this stuff. And, that practice makes perfect, we often say to children. Not a great idea, because that sets them up that anything less than perfection is a failure. So if my daughter's done something that she's proud of, I will say to her, oh, now, how did you get to that point? Like, I saw that you tried this several times and it didn't work. And like, what does this show you? She's like, well, I just had to keep going and keep trying. I'm like, there you go. Growth mindset. So I'm already trying to embed that. What happens if you fail? Well, you try it again, kind of mindset. But I think a lot of people have grown up with that whole practice makes perfect and feel that there may be a failure if they don't have that natural talent, or it's all right for her over there. She's naturally great at business or horse riding or whatever it is that you wish you could do. So that's a long roundabout way of saying, but yes, living in the 10% fixed mindset, and we can overcome that with a growth mindset approach.
Wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to stop for the moment, but everyone back, we're going to come back and we're going to talk some more. Kelly will be back next week as well to finish up the conversation. But Kelly, real quick, I want to be putting the notes in the show notes, but tell us just for a moment where they can find you, where they can come and follow you and share time with you.
Cool. So if you head over to my website is cheerupmarketing.com. And if you go to cheerupmarketing.com/free, you can download, I've got marketing resources if that's what you're interested in, but also the mindset stuff. So I do have a couple of free mindset trainings or masterclasses on there that you can download, then you'll jump on my email list and I'll stay in touch with you that way. I'm also on Instagram at Cheer Up Marketing and LinkedIn, Kelly Cookson. So feel free to come and connect with me. Drop me a DM. My DMs are always open. So you heard me on this podcast and we can chat about positive psychology or marketing or entrepreneurship or whatever you like.
Perfect. All right, Change Gang. I hope that you have a wonderful week and I will meet you right here next week. Same time.
I hope today's episode was interesting to you in some way and fun. If so, hey, find someone to share it with. Maybe they need to hear it too, or maybe they'll just enjoy it. If you'd like, go ahead and grab my tips on supercharging your success. It includes a free short meditation to do just that. You can find that at bit.ly/supercharge your success. Until next time, happy day.